You are tuned to Kennett Cablevision. Thank you for watching. It's time for talk. Each evening at this time, Monday through Friday, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. Time for Talk is a community betterment service. Tonight, Rosemary takes us by means of portable camera out of our studios and maybe into your neighborhood. And now, it's time for Talk.
The Kennett Chamber of Commerce. You're looking at pictures on the wall. You're looking at pictures of a group of men who have been very civic-minded, who are very concerned about growth in this area, and we have set about with Time for Talk cameras for our archives to preserve some of this. And we have sitting in our studio JC Skaggs. And JC, I suppose everybody in this whole county knows you. You were president. He's the only man who was president of this Chamber of Commerce 2 times, 1971 and 1978.
Correct.
Now, is it true that you didn't do it right the first time and they made you do it over?
That's what I got accused of, but I say we didn't have enough members for everybody to go around, and they'd started around, see.
All right, so what brought you to Kennett?
Well, I was born here.
Oh, well, okay, I know what brought you to Kennett then.
But my folks moved, and we went to Campbell, and I finished high school. No, I didn't. I didn't finish high school the sophomore year. So my junior year, I started school in Kennett.
So you came back?
Yes, ma'am.
And then when you graduated, what happened?
Wasn't but one thing you could do when I graduated.
What's
you go in the Army.
Oh, okay.
I went in the Army Air Corps.
All right, and stayed in how many years?
2 years.
Okay, and the war, they quit, the war was over, they said JC's in, we might as well stop.
That's right, I scared them to death.
Okay, and you came back to Kennett, and what did you do in this area?
Well, I knocked around, and I went to college for a while, and went to Cape, and then I went up to University of Missouri, and finally came back home and decided that I went to work for JC Company, Mr. H.R. Triple.
Oh, now, where was the store when you went to work? Was it
right there on the corner across from the old bank of Kennett?
Okay, it was a 2-story building, had wooden floors. Hey, do I remember that.
And it had the little airplane and little jiggers that you pull up, you know, and sent the money up to me.
Yeah, okay.
Mary Lou Milburn's mother.
All right, and you worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, were you a clerk? Were you...
That's basically why I was in the shoe department.
Okay. And how long did you stay with this?
I stayed a couple of years, and that time J.C. Penney was paying, I started $125 a month.
That was not bad.
Well, not bad. And but I had to work on Saturday night, and I was single.
I see what his problem is. I know where he's going. The money doesn't bother him, but okay.
So in 1949, I went to work for Nick Downing. His wife, Virginia, was working there, and I got acquainted with Nick. So he said, well, if you want to learn the parts business, why don't you, I'll hire you, and I'll give you $135 a month, and you won't have to work on Saturday nights.
So you were making $125. Mm-hmm. So $10 more a month, and you changed jobs.
But I didn't have to work Saturday night. You know, your hair gets curly on Saturday night.
Okay, all right, I understand. And so you didn't work on Saturday night after that. All right. And how long did you stay single after you changed jobs?
Well, a good while.
Oh, well, all right. Okay. And so you went into the auto parts business at that time?
Well, I went to work for Nick Downing in 1949.
And you've been in auto parts ever since?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when did you buy your first store?
Well, I went, there's a man named Clarence Schofield, and I bought out Mr. Downing in 1952. And in
well, so 52.
Actually,
you went in business for yourself.
As a partnership, and then we dissolved the partnership, and I put a store on the West End, in the old building across the street from where I am now. Sometimes I can't remember, you know.
You don't remember where to go to work.
Yeah, right.
Okay, all right. It happens to you at this time.
But anyhow, I've been where I am for about 36 years.
Okay.
On the West End.
All right. Skaggs Auto Parts on the West End. Now, talk to me about when you came into the chamber as a businessman. You got into this Chamber of Commerce. Did somebody approach you and say you need to do this? Did you feel like it was a good thing for businessmen to do?
Yes and yes.
Okay, all right. I'm glad I didn't ask but 2 questions, so I can remember what it was.
I really can't remember, but I've always been pretty well civic-minded, and I thought, well, I need to, because I'm going to make this my home. I'm going to live in Kennett.
So you decided you'd get out there and push
and do what you
to
have
make
to
it
do.
Go. All right. So in 1971, now you became president. Now tell me about the projects you worked on in 1971. What was the state of affairs? What was the big thing that was going with the chamber people?
Well, of course, even then, the big thing was 84.
The highway.
Highway between here and Haytime.
Everybody says this has been an ongoing project ever since.
There's been a lot of man hours put in that from Kennett, Missouri, I'll tell you.
You know, back in the history of Dunklin County, I remember reading that one thing we could be proud of here was that we had a paved road all the way across the state of Missouri. Well, the state of Missouri was only, 27 miles wide down here. All right, but now, 84 was a forerunner of what we're trying to do now.
Yes, ma'am.
So what were you active in doing?
Well, best I can remember, and I'm kind of growing back here, I remember we went to Jeff City and met with the highway department. And we had to get it changed from a Missouri highway, which was 84, and make it a U.S. highway. They said that, best I remember, that was the first step we had to do. So now it's US 412.
So, well, what did you have to do? Who was involved in getting this change? The government?
It had to be the state of Missouri's highway department and, and the chamber people.
So you all just went up there and said, we don't want this to be a state highway, we want it to be U.S. highway?
Well, there was I think, Harold Treasurer's dad had been a commissioner on the highway, and so I think Harold went with us, and I don't like to call names because I'll forget too many of them, but I remember Dolph Riggs went with us, and you know what a pusher Dolph was.
Yeah.
And was very instrumental in that, and I believe John Hall Dalton went with us, and I remember Harold Treasurer, and like I say, there was some more.
Okay, and they're still working on 412 now.
Yes, but I understand they've completed the survey.
Well, okay.
I read that, I believe, in the paper the other night.
Okay.
So, we may...
So maybe in the next 50 years...
Oh, no, we got to have it sooner than that. I'd like to see it before I die.
Well, so I hope you're hanging on.
They're going to have to work faster. I'm going to have to live longer.
That's true. All right. So you got this changed, and you got the first leg of this prepared.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
It's just a slow process.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
35 years is nothing.
Well, evidently not. It means a lot to me.
Okay. But you got it done, and or it was done it happened with the work of a lot of men. Okay. Now, think back, what other things are you thinking of that may have gone on in 1971?
Well, I remember the old Frisco building, the depot.
The depot?
Yeah, the old Frisco, remember the depot?
Yes.
Well, in 71, Frisco, they were going to do something with the building, and I think...
now, the railroad line had gone?
Well, there's no more passenger services in here.
I see.
Had the Moose. Remember the Moose?
Yes.
But anyhow, I know the chamber wanted to make either a museum out of it or a chamber office or a combination of both. And some other people wanted it torn down, so it wound up being torn down.
Now, I remember being in 20th Century Club, and we worked on this museum idea, and we worked with the chamber and tried our best to make it go and said we will do a lot of work, but evidently the city was strapped for money
I think that's what it was.
The chamber strapped for money.
Everyone was strapped for cash.
And it would have cost a fortune to have fixed it up,
right.
I suppose.
Which, by today's standards, it was cheap.
Well, yes, okay. So they ended up going ahead and tearing it down.
Yes,
but there was a lot of discussion about the museum.
Right.
Okay. What other highlighter? You remember he's got a page full of notes here. It's 4 or 5 pages of things that went on during his time.
Well, I remember, and this came basically from the downtown merchants on the conjunction of the canopies.
Yeah.
And I think someone has already probably talked about that.
Putting up the canopies.
Yeah, you know, there was
But now you talked about the traffic plan.
Yeah, well, that...
this was changed in 1971?
Colonel Redmond, I believe July the 1 is what I have down here. Thursday, July the 1st of 71.
Okay, now, what had we done? Was it two-way all the way around the square?
Well, when I was in high school, you know, it was two-way traffic, just go round and round and round.
Of course, the cars were real little.
Well, cars.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
And they parked, instead of heading in, you know, they parked parallel.
Okay.
Because they didn't have room.
Yes.
So then when they... traffic got a little heavier, evidently, why you started heading in, and then there wasn't room for 2 lanes.
That's right. Okay.
So that's why they had to create some one-way traffic in order to accommodate more cars.
So what happens? Does the city have to come up with a plan, and do you have to submit it to the? Do you have to submit it to the state?
Well,
if it was already if it's 412, it's
that was July of 71, and I don't think it was 412 at that time.
Oh, that's right.
Still,
okay.
But it was still a state highway. So, and the way I understand it, the state, basically, you have to clear everything through the state on a highway before you, just like they still have to.
Okay.
Because they had to have state permission to put the canopies up and all that across the 1st Street and St. Francis Street.
JC, I bet you did such a great job that they said, who will take this again? And they asked you to take it in 78. Do you remember who approached you about taking it?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Like I said, we possibly didn't have enough members for everyone to be president, and they said we're going to have to start all over, and you picked.
Now, was there a time that the chamber was strapped for members? It seems to me that nowadays everybody's a member of the chamber.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
But you've been a member for the last 40 years anyway, in the chamber.
But it wasn't, I mean, I don't think there was that many members. Again, I can't tell you because I just don't remember.
Okay, we don't have the records of, of the number. Okay, now tell me anything about 1978 that happened while you're president.
Well, the only thing I can really remember of 78, of course, we worked on Yarko, because that came in 79.
Okay, well, I bet that occupied a lot of time then.
But
does the chamber help them to find land when a big industry like Yarko comes in? Does the chamber help them to find land? To find?
Yes.
What were you all instrumental in doing? Helping them locate that?
I think number one, we had to get them down here, but we had to find land for them, and I'm really vague on it. So Gerald Granger can help you a lot more on that because that's the year they came in.
See, I know that besides being in the Chamber of Commerce and a businessman, I know that you have had another job in the last how many years? 20? 15?
15, probably.
County Commissioner.
Yes, ma'am.
Compare that to anything you have ever done. Has it been challenging? Has it been rewarding? How do you view this?
Well, I really enjoyed it. Let's put it that way. I really enjoyed it, and I felt that we had a lot of things going on back then. And of course, number one was the sale of the hospital, and that was, highly controversial.
Yes. Yes.
Some people think that now that it was a good idea, and some people still don't think much of it. But anyhow, that happened. And I was on the hospital board before I went on the commission.
So you've been on the hospital board, not only chamber president twice, on the hospital board, and the county commission.
Mm-hmm. And I was a member of the city council.
Right. So you see the caliber of men who have come in and have made this whole county to grow and made it what it is. And JC, we owe a lot to men like you.
Hey, they're still doing it.
Yes, they are.
They're still doing it. and it's getting bigger and better.
Good. JC Skaggs, president of the Kennett Chamber of Commerce in 1971 and 1978.
You have been watching Time for Talk. Time for Talk is a community betterment service designed to cooperate with our local community betterment program. Time for Talk is brought to you through the cooperation of Kennett Cablevision Incorporated and is produced through the facilities of the Slicer Street Church. The Holy Scripture